Buyer's regrets. If you've been collecting for any period of time, you probably have at least a few buyer's regrets. And as someone who's been collecting things since the age of about 16, which is over 10 years ago at this point, boy do I have some. So that's what we're gonna go over in this video. Some of you are gonna really be like, what were you thinking? If that's going through your head as you watch any portion of this video, I understand, because same. I don't know what I was thinking either, but we learn, you know? So I'd just like to preface, although this is a gaming channel, most of my buyer's regrets are to do with other hobbies, because gaming, video games, is something that I've only been collecting for like a bit over a year now. And because I had loads of past experience of collecting, there is a load of stuff I'd already learned through the stuff I'd collected from other hobbies. And so I already kind of knew certain approaches I was going to take with collecting games. So I don't really have many, if any, collector's regrets when it comes to gaming. I do have some games that I bought, played, and thought, I didn't enjoy that very much, and I'm now unhauling, but I wouldn't call those buyer's regrets. For me, a buyer's regret is like, there's a game, for example, that I want to play, and instead of buying the standard edition, I buy the collector's edition or the deluxe edition. And then it turns out I didn't like the game that much. Like, that to me is a buyer's regret, but buying a standard physical edition, not necessarily. So, admittedly, a lot of these buyer's regrets are to do with manga and K-pop specifically. So I'm gonna start off with K-pop, because this is what I was collecting for. This was the first hobby of mine that really got out of hand and that I started collecting a lot of stuff for. So I have a lot of buyer's regrets with that especially, and some of them are interesting. I have a lot of the things that I bought still under my bed that I want to get rid of. I just haven't gotten around to selling it yet because it's a chore, and some of this stuff is big and heavy and it's going to be a pain to ship. I'll give you an example. Now, don't get me wrong, this is very cool. It's a limited edition vinyl of Blackpink's first album, and I'm just gonna put it there because it's heavy. Look how frigging big it is, okay? It's very big and very heavy. And the thing is I'm not really a vinyl person. I have about 4 vinyls. And so this is definitely a regret purchase because I don't want it anymore, and it's going to be a friggin' nightmare to get rid of because vinyls, you have to post them. Be careful when you post them because they're very fragile and it's really heavy. So it's going to cost a lot of money to ship when I sell it. So I've been putting it off. It was very expensive because K-pop albums are expensive anyway, but this was very expensive. I can't remember how much it was exactly, but we're talking about the £200 sort of mark, probably, including shipping from South Korea. So now my next buyer's regret to do with K-pop, and this is something that a lot of K-pop fans still do, is buy every version of their favorite group's albums. Again, I have an example here. This is every version of Blackpink's first full-length album. Aside from the standard jewel case, and there was a couple like other variants, but like out of all of the normal box CD versions, there's 4 of them. What is the difference, you might ask, if you're not into K-pop? Well, the track list and the contents of the CD is exactly the same. The photo books are just different. That's about it. And there's different photo cards. Now, as you can see, they're very bulky. Not all K-pop albums are this shape, by the way, but they're like, the shapes and sizes are all over the place. And this is one of the reasons I don't collect K-pop albums anymore, because the shapes and sizes are all over the place. There is no uniformity. And while I thought that was quite cool at the time, it now really bothers me when I have to try and store them, display them. This is why they're all under my bed, and also why I'm planning to sell pretty much all of them. But the thing is, who needs 4 versions of the same album? Because even when I was a massive fan of Blackpink's, I didn't need this many versions. I mean, I have 5 versions technically. No, wait. I have 9 because there's the vinyl, there's those, and then I have all 4 versions of the cassettes. Do I have a cassette player? No. When I told you guys that like I had a lot of buyer's regrets, I wasn't kidding. I made a lot of silly impulse decisions, and that's what this were. Like, if I had used reason and logic, I would have come to the conclusion, wait a second, Laura, this is all the same album. Do I need 4 copies of the exact same album with the exact same music on the CD? And the thing is this whole trend of like there being loads of versions of the same album started with K-pop, and it's now infecting the Western music industry. Granted, I think that like multiple versions always existed, but it was definitely not as big of a thing. Like, there's loads of versions of Taylor's new albums that come out now, and I love Taylor Swift. And at most, I'll buy like 2 versions of her album, one on CD, one on vinyl. But I don't get all the CDs or all of the different vinyl variants because I don't need all of them. So this is something that I've stopped doing, thank God. It's definitely a big regret I have. And like, why are they in, this is like the most impractical shape that YG Entertainment could have designed for albums. Look how much space that takes up. If I was to put them on a shelf, which I did have them displayed on a shelf in the past, and it almost took up half a shelf, just these. It's a nightmare. This is like a personal rant, but I really do not like the K-pop formula anymore of like different shaped and sized albums. I don't like it. Takes up way too much space, okay? It's kind of like collector's editions with video games. Some of them are in massive boxes, and I don't want to have to lose half of an entire shelf for a collector's edition of a video game, right? So, yes, this is definitely a regret I have. And I've done this with a number of different albums. I have a lot of K-pop albums under my bed in boxes. Next is, I don't have these anymore, but I used to, in like the early K-pop days of me collecting and being into K-pop, there was this thing called Mnet Meet and Greet or something, where you could buy copies of an album from their website, and it would enter you into a virtual fan sign event, which basically meant that for each album you bought, you could write a message, and the members of the group might read it. However, you would get a signed copy of the album at the end. But the thing is, right, people that entered that event, they wanted their message to be read. And in order to increase your chances of the message to be read, you had to buy more albums. So I ended up with like 4 or 5 signed copies of these different albums, because I did this on like 3 or 4 occasions. And then after that, I thought, why am I wasting my time and money doing this? I will come to my defense a little bit. I was a teenager, okay? I was a teenager, and I spent my pocket money on really silly things, but I guess that's just what teenagers do sometimes. So yes, I think I do still have some signed albums under my bed, but I can't be bothered to get all of this stuff out. It's already kind of depressing me having a load of it on the floor around me as it is. So yes, I very much fell into the whole K-pop parasocial marketing formula, because that is what the K-pop idol model is. Like, I know that parasocial relationships are a thing with celebrities and their fans anyway, but K-pop really feeds into it so much more than the Western music industry does. And they do all these things where they take advantage of it by giving you multiple versions of the same album with different photo cards for you to get in each album. When I first got into K-pop, you'd get maybe 2 versions and they'd have different photo cards in them. And then it kind of started ramping up to 4 versions, 5 versions, 6, maybe sometimes 10. It's out of control now, personally. So this is another reason why I'm trying to be a lot more sensible now that I'm an adult with all of this sort of thing. Next, we move on to manga. Now, manga I haven't been quite as bad with, but there has been series that I've bought thinking I would enjoy it and ended up buying the majority of the series, reading a few volumes, and then realizing that it wasn't really for me. So then I had to sell the whole series, or pretty much the whole series, whereas I could have just bought like 2 or 3 volumes to try, assess whether I'm enjoying it, and only then buy more of the series or sell those 3 volumes on if I realised that I didn't like it that much. But probably the worst thing I did and the biggest buyer's regret I have when it comes to manga is there is this series that I really wanted to read called Pandora Hearts, and Pandora Hearts has a standard edition print, which the publisher is Yen Press, by the way. Yen Press doesn't really seem to be reprinting those volumes. Like, they're still in print supposedly, but like almost all the volumes are out of stock, or at least they were. Granted, I don't know if they've reprinted them since like 3 years ago when this happened. And then they had a collector's box set that they called the Pandora box. And the Pandora box was this huge chest that had these really nice, like thicker, really cool looking versions of the volumes in there. So it was like the volumes were now 2-in-1s and they looked like these really fancy paperback books. And Yen Press decided to reprint the box set, and I thought to myself, I really want to read this manga. The normal physical prints are really hard to get because Yen Press isn't reprinting them for some reason, but they're reprinting the box set, and the box set looks so cool, and genuinely it looks amazing. One of the coolest like collector's box sets when it comes to manga ever. But it's expensive. So the orders for the reprint went live on the Yen Press website. So what I had to do is use a proxy service. I got the proxy service to buy it off of the Yen Press website, and then I had it redirected from them to me because Yen Press wouldn't ship outside of the US. So the box set itself was like $200 or something, and then with shipping it amounted to close to $300. So it arrived, I opened it, I thought, oh my God, it looks amazing. And it did, it looked amazing. And then I started reading it and it's just not really my thing, I think. Like it's, I don't know. I just didn't really vibe with the story that much. And then I was stuck with this really expensive chest that was taking up space in my room. And I ended up selling it, but obviously I couldn't sell it at full price. I ended up selling it for about 100 quid. So I lost like £200 on that. Yeah, I'm never doing anything like that again. No matter how cool a collector's edition looks, unless I know that I love the manga series or the video game, I'm not buying a collector's edition for it. So yeah, those are the worst ones. I do have other buyer's regrets to do with K-pop and manga, but they're definitely smaller ones. I do have buyer's regrets to do with figures. Like there's figures that I bought that I thought looked cool that turned up that didn't look as good as I thought they would. Figures kind of look better in photos than in reality at times, and then they arrive and you can be a little bit disappointed with what they actually look like. Granted, that hasn't happened too often, but overall I kind of just overall regret buying all these K-pop albums and all of that manga and all of those figures because they're not things that I'm interested in buying anymore. I didn't realize that would happen while I was collecting them, that I would shift into not wanting to collect these things, at least not as much. I don't want to collect K-pop albums anymore whatsoever. I still have my manga collection there of the manga that I still like and want to keep, but yeah, I'm not collecting as much as I used to, and I don't want to collect anime figures anymore. And the main thing is I really like anime figures, but they take up a lot of space. Especially, I used to have the Wei Wuxian Yilin Laozu figure, which was my it was the best looking figure in my collection that I had. It was stunning. I loved it, but it took up so much space. I mean, I used to have it up there, and it would take up to about there, sort of. So that was a lot of space lost on just something that collects dust, because that's kind of what it is. It's a dust collector. It may look cool, but it just collects dust. Like, it doesn't have a function. It just sits there and looks pretty. And then I also had, and the other really big but really cool figure I had was the Wang Xian, I can't remember what it's called. That one was also, it looked so amazing in person, but that thing is really big. That was the biggest figure I had, and that took up half of an entire shelf space pretty much. As much as I liked it, I ended up getting rid of it because it was not practical to have. And I tried to, you know, being a collector, trying to be practical is kind of strange because having loads of things in itself is impractical, really. But I try to be as practical as a collector can be with the things that I choose to collect. So anything that's really big, no matter how cool it is, I try to stay away from really big collector's items or things like that, or you know, also things that are really fragile. Basically anything that's going to take up a lot of space or that's going to be a real pain to move if I, you know, move somewhere and have to box everything up. Anything that's going to be really impractical to move like that, I try to stay away from. But anyway, yes, those are my buyer's regrets. Let me know in the comments if you have any, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye bye.